Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Come on in. I don't know what you've heard before as we went live today. It has been a little bit crazy in the Breakthrough Green Room today. And I promised a fiery episode, and for sure, I believe you're going to get that, not just from our guest today, but I feel like the panelists and I today are all in a little bit of a fun, crazy energy. So if you want to see an episode like you've never seen before, make sure you share this out so that more people can join in the crazy today. Also, if you're joining us live or on the replay, take a minute, comment down below. Let us know that you're here. Let us know where you're joining us from. And also be sure to hit that heart button so we can reach more people with the show today. My name is Jessica. I'm an intuitive mentor and the host of this show. And this is The Breakthrough. It's the spiritual view for your soul and mind, where we dig deep on today's spiritual hot topics and inspire you with stories that change our lives. And like I mentioned today, we have quite the fireball for our guest this afternoon or this morning, depending on where you are in the world. And we're really excited to welcome world-renowned prophet, medium, spiritual advisor, Prophet Calvin Witcher to the show today. He is going to be joining us in just a little bit here to not only chime in on our hot topic today, but to also talk about who am I? Who are you to yourself? Who are you to other people? What does that even matter? You know, how do you identify yourself? Should you identify yourself? So we're going to get into a lot of different things today. And honestly, maybe we may go a completely different direction. I'll be frank with you, but regardless, it's going to be a really good show, and I'm excited to have everybody on today. So this means it is time for hot topics, which means we need to bring our panelists on for today. First up, we have our declutter coach and consultant helping us to be organized and in a minimalist environment during our breakthrough. Everybody please hit the heart button for Heather Clark today. Heart button. How are you today, Miss Heather?
Great, actually. And well, I was going to say, it helped that we were like laughing to the point of tears before we actually went live. So really, I just got those out of my eyes. So yeah, I'm good now. Well, makeup's not good, but you know, it's all good. I'll deal with it.
And you've had a change this week.
I have had a change a little bit. Yes. Yeah, we're not going to mention how wonky it went in the break, or like, you know, beforehand, but yes, I did chop off quite a lot of hair.
Several inches, I hear. I'm telling you, we can't do this today. We cannot do this today. So share with us this week, Heather, a joy that you've experienced this week. What's been joyful for you this week?
Oh my goodness, so many things. Oh my goodness. Okay, first of all, laughing to the point of tears earlier. That was the most recent one.
Today's the joy.
Yes. That's what I'm saying. Like, today's just the joy. End of story. Let's go. We're done. That's it.
Yeah. Is that really what you're going with?
No, I'm not really going with that. I'm trying to think. You're making me think on the spot, and it just doesn't work well with me. Yeah, I'd have to say the other day when it was really, really nice and warm and just being able to sit outside waiting for the kids, it was so beautiful just having that sun on me. And of course, being up in Canada, when the week before we had snow. So really having that sun, nice warm weather and stuff like that. The sun's trying to peek out this morning or this afternoon, but yeah, I'd have to say that was the joy for sure, because
I would imagine that was a joy for a lot of Canadians this week.
Exactly.
After the snow. It is not so much a joy here in Alabama, where we have been 90 degrees this week already. And it's like, hello, it's May. What is August going to be like? So that is not my joy this week, but I'm glad it's yours.
I'm glad it's yours.
All right, we need to bring our next panelist on for today. She's our meditation teacher / designer / photographer, our Jane of all things, our juicy girl. Everybody hit the heart button for Tara Abram today. Heart button.
Hi.
I'm excited to have you on today, my friend.
I'm excited to be back. And hopefully we can get through this episode without crying.
I doubt it. Share a joy with us this week, Tara. What's joyful in your world?
Well, I'm kind of on the same page with Heather. Like, I'm Canadian and we had snow last week. So it has been joyful. And I even planted flowers.
Yay.
Like not many, but
Planting flowers this week. I cannot believe, so I planted an herb garden last year in like one of those portable herb garden things, and most of them are still alive.
love it.
That's impressive.
Survived the lack of weather that we have here in Alabama. So that's a good joy, getting to go out and enjoy, for both of you guys, the nice more spring-like appropriate weather, and getting to plant some flowers and stuff too. Those are definitely good joys and a lot of fun. My joy this week, my joy is behind me. I found this incredible, and I'm gonna have to post a picture on the Breakthrough page, but incredible tapestry with all the astrological signs, and there's a big sun in the middle. And lots of moons and things. So it's right up my alley, and I love it. So that's my joy this week, was finding that here in Alabama. That's my joy. All right, guys. So we need to get into our hot topic today. And I asked a question a couple days ago on the Breakthrough page. I'm heading over there now to take a look and see what some of our responses have been to that as well. But our topic is social media rants. So we have this social media platforms now, right? And everybody's got something to say. Everybody always has something to say. And some people are more animated about the things that they have to say than others. So the question that I have today is, social media rants, are they something that spiritual entrepreneurs need to be participating in or doing themselves? What do you guys think about that, Heather?
Well, okay. First of all, humans are allowed. We have emotions. We have the rants. We have the angers. We have the ups and downs. I'm very animated today alone. Goodness gracious me. But there's a certain thing with social media and somebody being behind their computer at home, that they just have that extra, I'm trying to think of extra confidence to be able to say things to other people, whether in comments, whether in lives, whether in certain things, then maybe if they were in a crowd of people. Like I usually say, if I'm not willing to go into a crowd of 100 to 3,000 of people and say what I'm about to say online and social media, then I'm not about to say it in social media.
Yeah.
Because
I would agree with you on that too. I think that that's where a lot of the, you talk about people suddenly saying things on social media that they wouldn't say in public. We like to call those keyboard thugs, and that's what because they wouldn't necessarily say it in person. And the one argument that someone had with me one time was that, perhaps social media is giving people some of these people that would not normally express themselves, the confidence or the space to be able to express themselves. What do you think about that, Tara?
Yeah, like I'm not really a ranter, and I kind of like avoid the whole ranting thing. Like I think when I rant, I'm just like, Jessica.
I do that too.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Jess is buzzing me, and then my rant comes in. But yeah, I mean, I agree with Heather. I think if you can't say it like in person, like there definitely is that. I think that protection for people of being behind the screen. Like I said, I avoid it. I've seen it before in years, and there was people like in my feed where things would come up, and of course they're not in my feed anymore because I don't like that energy. Now, perhaps there's, positive rants.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with what both of you guys are saying. And I think that really the key for me is it something you have to think, I feel like as an entrepreneur, if it's your personal page, rant away. That's your business. That's your, and if you're not doing, business through your personal page, which you're not really supposed to be per Facebook guidelines anyway, but, if you're not doing that, then what's the big deal with kind of sharing, if you want to go down that rabbit hole, it only ultimately reflects on you and I think it ties in beautifully actually to what our topic is today with Prophet Calvin.
Shocker.
And right. We're not shocked here. with what do other people think? What do you think about yourself? You know, how is your message going out there in the world? And so, I mean, I know for me, I try to be more mindful on my business page. I'm not going to have a rant about something that's personal or about, you know, how my order was wrong at the restaurant on my business page. I'll probably do that on my personal page if I feel led to do that. But my business page, I feel like, is a little more, you know, why would I talk about something that has nothing to do with anything in the realm of my business or who I am, you know, as a mentor or anything like that. So, so it's an interesting topic for sure. And I want to welcome our guest today because I know that he is going to have something to say about this as well as many other things. So I want to quickly give a little rundown of our guest today. If you guys will give me just a second here to get that information going. So Prophet Calvin Witcher is a world-renowned prophet, medium, spiritual advisor. His clients have gone on to do many big things. He does things in business. He does things with other mediums and spiritual advisors and things like that. And he also has a lot to say typically about Game of Thrones, as well as some other fun topics. Everybody please hit the heart button for our guest today, Prophet Calvin Witcher. Yay! Thank you for being here. I'm gonna unmute you. Unmute, there you go.
Hello, hello. I'm doing well. Why do I look so small? This is so funny.
Well, it's because all of us feel like we need to get up in everybody's face.
How about that? Is that better?
There you go.
There you go. There you go. Thank you so much for being here today. We're excited not to just have you on the show, but your energy as well. I always love when you go to Calvin's page, whether it's his personal page or his business page, you get the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God.
Yes. To death do we part. All that good stuff.
Can you start off sharing a little bit of your thoughts about our hot topic today? How do you feel about ranting?
You know, here's the funny thing. One, love being here. Love our lovely panelists of powerful women and goddesses. So glad to be here with you. And hi, everyone that's watching. So thanks. You know, here's my thing with the rant. I actually appreciate when people rant. And it's really from this particular situation. I think one of the panelists said, it may have been Heather, I think it's really easy to hide behind the computer and hide behind the keyboard. So I actually think that it's just as damaging for someone to put up a facade of who they are or who we pretend, or who we pretend to be. So when someone rants, I actually get an insight of who they really are deep down. As a person that operates in that space of truth and clarity and insight, I can, it may not resonate with me. And I think that's different. I think Tara spoke to that beautifully, which is like, if it doesn't resonate with me, you can block people, unfriend people, you can do a lot of things around that space. And you should, to protect your energy. It's your virtual real estate. And if you wouldn't allow it in your house, you shouldn't allow it on your feed. So I think that's healthy boundaries. On the other end, I actually enjoy it because I get to see what people really think. It's like, if someone has road rage, who doesn't? Some people are weird and don't have road rage, but at least I know where people stand.
Okay. You have to, when you sometimes will do where you're driving under inspiration, as you call it, little podcast from your vehicle. And the other day, somebody wasn't moving and you honked the horn. You honked the horn and absolutely were like, bless you, but get him. Move on. And it really, even in those moments of road rage for you, or moments where you're annoyed being the driver, you're Calvin. You're the same person no matter what you're doing. And I think that that's really telling. That's really telling of someone. So I agree with you that even though it sometimes may not be something that resonates and we need to click that block button or hide button or whatever, that it can be telling of someone's personality and who they are at their core, so that we kind of thank you for letting us know what we're getting involved with, right?
Right. But see, because here's my thing. I think it's a level of honesty. So now I think it actually speaks more to us as the viewer and participant of how we respond to that. Like, are we actually comfortable with people's honesty? We see someone ranting online. Are they upset? Are they hurt? Is it from a place of trauma? Are they impatient? So I think it highlights really how do we want to be responsible for that energy? And if I'm working through my own anger issues, I don't want to see your anger issues because that's too much work for me personally. So it's interesting. I see the rant as more about how are you responsible for the energy and how is it relevant to you versus is it socially appropriate?
Right.
Because I would argue, I don't think it's socially appropriate to lie to people and to be dishonest. I mean, there's a lot of people that are, you know, love and light and happy and joy and peace that will cuss you out behind closed doors. So I'd rather you just cuss me out online and where it's clear about where we are versus to put up the facade of, you know, something and it's just not that. So I don't know.
And I'm with you on that. Like, I get where you're coming from, and I totally am, you know, there's definitely those, you know, degrees of like, you know, somebody who puts on the facade that's, oh, my life is perfect, oh, look at me, because they're comfortable behind the computer. And then there's those who rant beyond belief. Whereas me, for personally, and I think that's why when you were saying it's like how you take it, for me personally, when I am ranting, I'm ranting internally because I'm not one to, you know, verbalize it outside because it's just not who I am. I'm not a conflict person. I don't like, you know, will I fight if I have to? Sure, great. That's awesome. Will I, you know, rant if I need to? Great. But for the most part, I'm like, okay, I'll internally, you know, figure out what this is. I'll step back and then I'll put my, you know, once everything's said and done, that's when I'll, you know, say something about it. But yeah, to like do it in the heat of the moment when, you know, it's still happening, when that, you know, those emotions are still raw. That's the part where I'm like, okay, I get where you're coming from, but it's still like, again, like you said, it's where you're perceiving it as the person watching.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think, you know, it's a catch-22 because sometimes I don't even want to hear it. Like, I don't want to hear your drama and you're having a bad day and they gave you chocolate ice cream. It was supposed to be vanilla. No one cares, you know? So sometimes I'm almost of the perspective, like if you're going to rant, let it be a really relevant, fun rant that people care about. But I think the challenge with me is how you define the rant. So if I see someone ranting and it's more about you're just really mad and you're using the audience as a way of therapy, I think for me, especially if you're like a leader, a coach, a mentor, you know, a trainer, a guy, whatever you want to call it, to me, I don't think that that's socially responsible from a space of leadership, because I don't think you should use your audience to work through your own emotional issues. Like do that behind closed doors or get you a coach, you know, call Jessica. But that's a little bit different. I think then it's a level of immaturity, just quite honestly. But someone said like, you know, hey, hurry up, car, you're moving really super slow. Like, I'm going to say that if you're in the car, I'm on a live stream or by myself. So I may not just be telling you all of my emotional trauma that I'm working through myself.
Well, we were talking a little bit about the conference you went through to recently, and you were sharing on your page about how many people were all riled up about this conference on social media, but then how many people actually showed up to cuss you out, like in person?
2. Like
that's those keyboard thugs.
2 human beings. I mean, I really should find it right now. That's just the funny thing. I should really find this right now because I can tell you the amount of people. It's so funny because I'm on Google, not Google, on Facebook right now trying to find the article. It's just like this one video got 25,000 views on it. I forgot how many shares. Here's another one with about 6,000 comments. 2 people showed up. And that's just from the really quick search on Facebook right now that I'm looking at. So, but again, this is why I go back to, I think like ranting, I think it's a level of honesty. I think it's really easy to complain. I think it's really easy to verbalize things. The people that take action on it are few and far between. Very few. But I mean, I think everyone here is doing coaching or at some level here. We can say that with clients. It's like having a client that is passionate, but the other person that follows through with it. I'm telling you, it's a coach's and a teacher's, dream. Just follow the instructions. Just follow through with it. Be committed with what you're wanting to do. Otherwise, it's like you're just wasting everyone's time.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we had a lot of people that were, well, and I understand it. And I actually don't feel bad about it. I feel that people were a little offended. And I can understand that. Although nothing that was said was actually meant to be offensive. And nothing was offensive. It's not like I told, people that were Christian I almost said something, to F off. No one said that. No one said, F Jesus, or has really ever said that. Very, very respectful when it comes to deities, no matter if you're Buddhist or, pagan or whatever the case is. But it was from a standpoint of people mostly felt offended. And so they acted in kind, not realizing that I'm probably one of your best allies when it comes to spirituality, but it's okay. But yeah, we had 2 people show up. Yeah. Kudos to those 2 people. Kudos.
I know. Well, and that's what I loved about the live stream that you did talking about that, is that you didn't say to them, screw you for what you believe and that sort of thing. It was like, hey, thanks for showing up and expressing yourself, because there were other people that clearly, needed that screen in front of them to be able to do that,
Right. And it's interesting because literally before this conversation, or before we connected in the green room, I had someone reach out to me and they said, I guess they saw a live stream I did earlier this week. And they said, hey, I want to do a debate with you online. And I said, I don't do debates. And she says, she says, well, why not? I said, you're not trying to change your position and I'm not changing my position. So there's no need for us to debate about that. That's just a waste of our time.
Right.
I said, now, if it's an educational dialogue, I'm open to that. I said, are you open to having a conversation where we just mutually explore the conversation? Philosophy, spirituality, etc. Well, no, I want to make sure I am defending the faith. I said, well, you can defend the faith without me. You don't need me for that. I said,
she doesn't need you for that.
Yeah, Heather. It's like, you can just tag me, like say some bullshit and then tag me and say, I'm a heretic, I'm going to hell. That's so much easier for all of us. And I can send a gif back of, the little devil. And it's fun. Right, Tara? Just have fun.
Well, and see, this is the thing where I found with rants, and I agree with you, this honesty thing comes up, but I think that's why it ends up being unblock, unfriend. Like, I'm not paying attention because I'm like, oh, I don't need you in my circle. Like, because I just find some of it's just so ridiculous. Like, that's my thing,
Yeah.
Like first world problems. Like, there's bigger things going on, I guess. I don't know.
I agree with that, Tara. I think it's a bit a level of selfishness. Stop everything you're doing. Look at me. Shouldn't you care about, they forgot to ring me up for my mocha latte the correct way at Starbucks. No one cares, boo. Just no one cares. Yeah. And you shouldn't care. But
that's right.
I really like your approach, though. That's a good one. Yeah. Okay. That's good.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Look, it's something that I think we all, I think you're absolutely right with talking about how, it really does reflect on us. Like if someone is whining about their latte, why are we whining that they're whining? And like it goes to
or why are we watching that they're whining?
Yeah, and then we get upset because they're upset because it just really, do we need to do that? No, we probably don't. So anyway, I think that this ties in, like I was saying, beautifully with what we wanted to talk to you about today. And I gave everybody a little bit of an introduction when you came on, but who are you? Like, who do you tell people that you are?
That's a really interesting conversation. And honestly, it shifts and it depends on who I'm talking to. And I like doing that because I find that I work in a lot of different modalities per se. I typically go by prophet. Everything floats from that space with me. And so I typically go by that. Like you mentioned before, I still do coaching. I still do business consulting. And it's very interesting too, because I also have a lot of different genres or arenas that I work in. Like I am very much on the religious side of things. I'm very much on the atheist side of things, where people that just don't care about spirituality. They're like, I don't care about Jesus or Buddha or Krishna or Shiva or Odin or anybody. Like, it's just me. And then I have another side of things, which is very pagan, occultic, the witchcraft community, shaman community. So it's very kind of the new age community, but I'm always on the light workers hit list, it seems. So I don't know. I haven't been kicked out yet.
Light workers most wanted.
Light workers most wanted. I'm telling you, I stay on the list.
Why do you think that is? I mean, I can guess that for two things that I would think would be, number one, that they're not comfortable with themselves, and number two would be that they don't really know who you are, and that kind of gets into the other part of what we're talking about, because, like, listen, I had an email that I sent out the other day that was hilarious, because you send out an email and you might look later and say, okay, I've had 10 people open this or whatever. And this was something where I clicked send, and that heading of the email, I have never seen emails open so fast. Like I watched them open. I watched them come up on the screen. It was the craziest thing. And you know how many people, though, actually went through and clicked the link to read the content of what I was talking about? Maybe like 5. So it's like people like to get all riled up about who they think somebody is, and then it's like, who are you? Who are you really? What?
Well, and I think it also, when they read it and let's say they're going through the email and they're just done it, it's the mood that they're in too.
Right.
So as soon as that email comes in and they read that topic, they're like, oh, I'm going to click, and then they went, oh, okay, well, yeah, okay, never mind. And then just went on, because it's that initial like, oh, wait, okay, never mind, forget it. I'm good. I need to go back to what I was doing. So I think that's half the reason why a lot of people reading emails or declutter, like with my clients and stuff, decluttering in the mood that they're in sets the tone.
Yeah.
Whatever mood you're in sets the tone for reading an article, for catching a live, for, whatever. Like so that it's kind of funny that you say that, actually.
Well, it's interesting because with Calvin, what I wanted to ask you about is why you think people have that sort of reaction to who you are.
It's very interesting. The religious community typically has a problem with it because they have history, a very long history of defined creeds, defined characters. And so if you start to go against that definition and the structure, it becomes a challenge, because you're challenging the status quo. So if I say prophet, depends on who I'm talking to. If I'm talking to someone that is from a Muslim, Islamic persuasion, like, well, there's only one prophet, so you are not it. If I'm talking to a Christian, it's like, well, depending on where they come from, that they either are very dispensationalist or they don't believe that prophets actually exist today. Then if I say prophet, I'm comparing myself to Jesus, which is a whole nother conversation there. The New Age community is very interesting, because the New Age community, and I say this, unapologetically, lacks structure and lacks discipline. It is a catch-all in that space, but witchcraft is a catch-all. Only until you start getting into disciplines of witchcraft does it actually become very, very powerful. Most people aren't great at, the occult and witchcraft because they aren't disciplined. The same thing with the New Age. And a lot of the New Age, not all, but a lot of the New Age community, especially those that come from that consciousness realm, are people that came from a church background, a lot of which are rejects. And that's just the nature of it. And so what happens is we have a whole group of people that I would say they rejected, they transitioned from Christianity or some structured religion into something that is pretty open source. And the challenge is it becomes a dynamic of people feel like someone is controlling them. So to say somebody is a prophet, automatically to a New Age person goes into hierarchy. You are above someone else. It's like in the Christian context, if you said a priest. Well, what do you mean? A priest is not mediated between me and God. I can talk directly to God. So a New Age person typically will translate that as, well, a prophet, that means that you speak for God. So it means that God is not talking to me directly. It means you have some special powers, you know. And I talk about this quite openly, and I have courses that I've taught on this, which is to say, not everybody in the world is psychic. Not everybody in the world has, you know, certain gifts. Not everyone is good at decluttering, you know, like Heather. That's why we pay Heather to do that.
That's right.
Not everyone knows how to read tarot cards. That's why we have Jessica and, you know, Tara. I know that you're doing a lot of coaching as well. Everyone has a specialty and a discipline and a distinction, and that's okay. And we're not all created equal, contrary to popular opinion. And I think sometimes in the spiritual community, the New Age community, whenever you start exemplifying who you are, sometimes people view that as an attack versus you owning who you are. I've just learned that has, you know, I don't know who originally said this, but how other people think about me is none of my business, per se. And again, unpopular opinion, but we say a lot of unpopular things around here too. A lot of the New Age community, just like a lot of the religious community, really lacks a lot of personal experience. We have the dogma. That's easy. And the religious or the spiritual community, New Age, consciousness, the whole realm has a lot of that too. 5D is just as, you know, innocuous and weird and spooky spiritual as heaven is to Christians. No one has experienced it. We have theories around it. We have a faith that promotes it. But ain't nobody ever going to heaven and come back and say, you know what? It was just so fun in heaven, and those pearly gates were just so beautiful. I just decided that I really like eating, you know, Chick-fil-A, and I wanted to come back into this experience. You are lie. No, you have not. And I'm just so 5D, and I decided I've been in the cosmos, and I've been with the Arturians, but I decided that my mission is to come back here and pay exorbitant amounts of rent in LA and eat crappy bad food full of GMOs just to proselytize you to 5D from 3D. You're full of bullshit. No, you don't. No, you don't. You have not done that. If you go to heaven, you're not coming back. Okay, let's just be clear. If you go to 5D, you're not coming back. These are all philosophies and things that people have not really experienced. And I don't have a problem saying that because it's true. And anyone that's a master and skilled person in their craft, they know it. And they should call it out. Like, you know, everyone here is skilled at what they do. And you know when someone is talking about it and when they just don't know it. Like everybody that channels, I promise you, if they say they're channeling an angel, Archangel Michael, Archangel Gabriel, we don't know any other angels. Nobody else is talking to you. Just those two angels. In all of the multiverse, those are the only two angels that ever show up. I just question that.
Yeah.
And then I say, and I'm going to shut up. You're channeling all these entities and all these energies, and you're that connected with the universe on a spiritual level. But we have all these other issues like anger and poverty and, you know, depression and suicidal ideation, and you're still poor and you're still angry and mean. Archangel Michael is not helping you, you know, get a cure for cancer. I mean, let's just be real about it. I mean, Jesus is talking to you, telling you to condemn people for being Buddhist, but Jesus didn't tell you to cure the AIDS. I call bullshit on that. It's just stupid. Like, what's the purpose of all that? Anyway, let me stop because I'll keep going. Anyway, so people don't like that level of honesty, but go ahead, Heather.
No, I was just going to ask, like, when did you get into this part of you? Like, what, were you always like this as a child? Were you always like this as a teenager? Like, what? Yeah, look at the eyebrow. I saw that eyebrow.
Like
Eh?
this.
That was fantastic.
Let me put that eyebrow right back down.
Bring it down, bring it back down. But it's funny because, you know, I could see you as the younger you, even, and I've just met you, and it's really funny to, like, I'd like to know your part of, you know, you, and when you discovered this part of you.
Oh, perfect. I love it. Great question. I first discovered this officially when I was around 8 years old. I have like really strong benchmarks, 8, 10, 12, again at 17, again at 21. Those are like my really heavy hitting years. And I talk about this a lot. I feel like everyone that has any kind of experience, whether religious or spiritual, or let me say it this way, has a perspective, spiritually or religiously, should have an experience with it. I think the experience is what transforms life, period. So I grew up I grew up Christian. So to answer this part of the question, I grew up extremely Christian, drank the Kool-Aid and the biscuits. And on one side, I was Baptist, and on the other side, I was Pentecostal holiness. So I kind of got the best of both worlds, like the education side of things and also the spiritual side of things. I grew up witnessing a lot of miracles, like I would still call them as miracles, getting healed of eczema, getting healed of asthma. I saw people literally get healed of blindness. I was with people, especially because I did a lot of other auxiliaries in the church. I mean, everything from like youth pastor or youth president all the way up to pastoring. I've done that. And I've seen people that, I was in the hospital with them being diagnosed with cancers, and they went to a service and got prayed for, and all of a sudden the cancer has disappeared. People that were in wheelchairs, I knew lived with, have helped people into beds, that got up and ran around and were walking. I grew up with that. And on a personal level, I grew up with having experiences with seeing spirits and having my bed levitating and and with friends. So it wasn't just me. I would have experiences where I would be with my friends. One particular example with my friend Joe and Angie. And we were sitting in the house. I remember exactly where we were, almost what I was wearing that night. And this cup starts floating in the air, just like this. And everyone starts to look around at it, and it flies across the room. I was always having those experiences. So to me, it went beyond this is cute, like angels and demons and spirits and, to, no, this shit is real. Like, I don't know what to do with this, but it's real. And so it got worse and worse and worse. And then with me on the prophet side of things, on the prophet and the spiritual gift side of things, like a psychic and medium, that was weird too, because I was talking to people, and for me, the experience was like I was living in the future with them. And that was kind of a weird thing for me because I didn't really grow up around prophets. We just didn't have those, even in my spiritual community. We weren't against it, but we just didn't talk about it, right? And so with me, I would have experiences where I was talking to people, and in my mind, my experience, I would say, oh yeah, congratulations on that new job of yours. It's really great. Because it already happened to me. And they were like, well, what new job? Well, the one you took about 2 weeks ago, and they were like, I'm applying for a job now. Like, oh, well, you're going to get it in 2 weeks. And that's how it would happen.
Now, did you freak those people out when you would say things
every
like that?
Time. Because you have to remember, I'm 8 years old, 8, 10.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, you're a child. Like, when children say things like that, you just go, oh, that's cute. Or like, sometimes it's like, oh, wait, yeah, he said that 2 weeks ago and it's just happening now.
Right.
Yeah, it must have freaked, because adults are not as open as children.
Right. And to be fair, with none of the training and with none of the discipline and diplomacy with it, super arrogant, just like, I'm right, which is
not you.
horrible. I mean, I had no diplomacy, but I can admit that, just super immature, but from a place of just not knowing. Like, there's some things you shouldn't say, like on the mediumship side of things, like, oh, your grandmother's telling me that, she's about to pass on, and blah, blah, blah. Like, my grandmother's in the hospital. How did you know that? Oh, no, she just passed on. Like, she just died. And I would say stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, yeah. Your grandmother looks like this. She's standing right there. Those were my experiences, but they were so normal to me. It was literally like, especially on the mediumship side, if I start to see it visually, it's literally like I'm looking at you beautiful ladies here. Like, oh, like if I were talking to, someone, I said, oh yeah, your friend Tara is here. She has these cute little red glasses, like Sally Jesse Raphael. And she, I see this background with her and it's silver. It looks a little metallic. And someone that knew Tara would say, that's absolutely her. And so to me, it was never something that I was hoping was true. It was something that I was living in truth. And so when it came down to people criticizing and condemning, to me, that wasn't a big thing, because I wasn't, how do I say this? I wasn't fighting for someone's, I know, right? That's cute, right? Yeah. I wasn't fighting someone's belief system. I was explaining my experience, which is different. So even today, and again, that took me on a journey of having to figure out what was happening to me. Because I went through a whole big stage, it was horrible, with my pastor, which I don't blame him for this, because I can't say in good consciousness that I wouldn't have done the same thing. When I started talking to him about it, like, hey, this is happening to me. The bed is levitating. I'm hearing voices. These experiences are happening. I'm getting visions of car accidents with people, and, it's happening. My pastor initially started thinking that, oh, it's a demon, and it's a, demonic issue, of which I'm a good student. As crazy as I am as a leader, I'm a very good student. And so he was like, you're reading too much. You need to pray. You need to fast. You need to do all this stuff because you're causing it. And I'm like, okay, I'm causing it. So that's just crazy. So I went through the whole battling demons and evil stuff. And so I understand that other dynamic of like, okay, is it God or is it the devil? To get to a place of like, you've got to work through this where it makes sense for you. And I literally have dealt with demons, I guess presently and in the past. And so it's always funny when people talk about angels or demons for me or certain spiritual gifts. I'm like, you don't know what you're saying. I will bet you good money you don't, because if you were in that experience, you would probably have a heart attack. There's just no way. It just no way. Like on the demon side of things, I remember one time I was in, it was so interesting. I was in Virginia at the time, and we were doing exorcisms, going off of the whole Christian Post thing today, ironically enough. And there was this little girl, she was about 7 years old-ish, and I was with my pastor at the time. And it was two other ministers there, big, fat, Baptist, like chicken field pastors. And they were going to this little girl who was possessed of a demon. And that little girl, she was possessed, just to set the record straight. That little girl, 7 years old, give or take, picked those two grown men up, levitated off the ground, and threw these men had to easily be 300 pounds, easily. It picked both of them up by her hands and threw them up against the wall. And I was like, see, that's the kind of stuff you don't fight without Starbucks. You need to be caffeinated when you come to that level of crazy. You better get you a double latte or something, or you need to have some dragons that are flying around somebody's head. That's crazy. So everyone's like, oh my God, now. It's like, what do we do? This episode is going to be 5 hours long.
Like you've already got everybody all riled up about being a prophet. Now you're talking about dragons. We go in a different direction now.
I love dragons. Don't mock the dragons.
Tara, I know that you were recently talking with Harley Monty, who's been on this show, and then he was on your radio show as well. And I believe he was talking about too, when he first sort of was connecting with spirits and his intuitive side of thing, when he went to his the religious leader in his church as well, or his I think it was the rabbi he said he went to, was that sort of that experience with him as well, that there was a little bit of pushback as to what he was actually experiencing?
Yeah, and I thought I was muted for a sec. And I think it's what's really beautiful about what he's done is he's really, I think, found a way to balance the two together. And in the beginning, yes, I believe that there was some, but it's positive energy. Like that's the whole thing. He brings a positive energy to what he's doing. And so I don't think you can go wrong with that in any way. So, but yeah, I think that there was some conflict there in the beginning though. So, but yeah, and it's like, I can relate to so much of what you're saying, because when I was younger, I had so many of these crazy experiences too. Right. But like now they're, it's like, it's so normal. So I don't know. I like that you shared all that. That was awesome.
I don't think it makes a difference, Sarah. I mean, when you're having those experiences, it goes beyond the fairy tale and just it's an everyday experience. And it's like if you try to explain that to someone, Tara, it's like, where do we start?
Exactly, right? You're like, you did what? You were doing what at the time? And then what? Yeah, totally, right?
Yeah. And you just get to a place where you're not trying to convince people of where you are. It's just like, for instance, like the whole prophet thing. It's like, I don't know how to tell you. I'm not trying to convince you. I will explain what I do, how I do it. But I'm not trying to convince you. And it's like, well, if you want to have an experience, jump on a live stream with me, become a client, talk to somebody that has had an experience with me, if you really care. But most people really don't care. They actually are trying to prove how what you're saying is actually not true.
No,
now, is that because, do you think that it's because they're doing that because it makes them feel uncomfortable if what you're saying is true?
No. You know what I actually believe it is? And I believe that people won't admit this. I believe that people are dying for it to be true. I really think that people want to believe. I think people want to experience the miraculous. I really do believe that. I think people want to believe that there's something outside of this experience that is powerful for me. I really do believe that people believe that. I don't think they know how to have those conversations. I think they're scared to open themselves up to it. But I really think that people want the crazy, miraculous level of faith. We want to see aliens. We might be scared out of our mind what that means for human civilization because of Independence Day. But we want that. We want something to break up the monotony that is our life. Then that's what I love about what I do. I'm like, that there's just no way I would humanly know what I know. There's no human way possible I could be able to do some of the things I do. And we have people that are, healed of diseases. We have information about people, what they were experiencing when they were 7 years old, all kinds of crazy stuff. I mean, if I started telling stories, it'd be 3 hours, that we don't want to do that.
And I have a question too. I'm going to be the one asking all the questions, apparently.
That's okay.
Sarah,
You're going to ask questions.
This is actually the Calvin and Heather show. But do you think a lot of that is also mindset? Like, do you think they're healing themselves because they believe so wholeheartedly, and therefore they're like, as I'm listening to different people about different things that mind, if you believe you're sick, you're sick. If you believe you're well, you're well. And a lot has to do with the chemicals in your brain. It has to do with how your body reacts to how it's well and how it's not. And so you believe like those who have healed themselves, it's definitely because of their mind, right?
Absolutely. And here's the funny thing. And this is why I had to learn how to own the prophet thing, because that was not an easy thing for me. It was probably the hardest thing for me to do, because I've been to seminary and I have studied and I have spent 3 years in a synagogue, and I'm very much learned in this space. And even with me, I was like, this is not going to be well received. And I know how people want to, you have to prove it, whatever. And so with me, I started making a distinction between I'm a prophet and I'm also a psychic. And the difference for me is, as a prophet, I'm concerned about your destiny. As a psychic, I'm concerned about your decisions. And I know the distinction. Like, so I can say with someone, you're wanting to, really be married to this particular person, psychic. That's true. Sometimes the prophet side of me will disagree with that. And I'll say, while the psychic side of me says you want to be in a relationship with this person, the prophet in me knows your destiny is actually meant to be a woman empowered leader. And the reason that you want to be with this person is because your dad beat you when you were 8 years old, and you're trying to rise up and replace your mother and be strong and be stronger than what your mother could be. And you're using this relationship as a cop-out to try to bolster some level of pseudo strength that you don't need to do. And this is a role that you're playing because you think you have to, and this is not your calling in life. It's not to say not to be married. It's not to say don't seek love. It's just to say that your motivation by what you're doing it is literally going to set you back 2 years. And if you keep down this path and keep down that perspective, you're going to end up in a worse situation than what you want. And sometimes that's good and sometimes that's bad, depending on the information and revelation that comes through. And so for me, it is a lot of the mindset, because what I'm asking people to do is to have another thought other than the one they're having. Because we're all having thoughts. And really what I'm saying is trust the thought that I have of you, versus the one that you have of yourself. It's almost like in the scriptures. Here we go with the scriptures. We talk about demons.
Here we go.
Then we talk about
Church of Calvin today.
you know, and I think this is the revelation between even when the scripture said that to Jeremiah, I know the thoughts that I have for you. Thoughts for you to have an expected end, thoughts of love and pure and all these things. I do believe that on the destiny side of things, there is a part of our mind that knows how great we are, and we confuse ourselves. We get into the clutter of our life as a way of masking our mastery of who we are. And then I come and say, well, this is just stupid. This is just dumb. Let me give you another thought. And it's a trust issue. It really is. Probably, if I had to say the hallmark of everything I do, is always going to go down to trust. You're going to have to trust somebody. You're trusting your voice right now that this is the direction that is going to give you what you want. And I'm asking if you can give 5 seconds to put your thought on hold and absorb the thought that I feel God has for you. You will get healed. I have seen it happen. It's happened on my free live streams before where literally people I've said, you have the medicine right there beside you. You just went to the doctor today. You just picked it up. I am telling you, you don't have to take that anymore because as we're talking, the pain just went away. When you go back to the doctor, which you're scheduled to go back next Thursday, the doctor's going to tell you you're going to be okay. And they don't know what happened and it went away. So we have that experience happen. And really the only difference is you chose to believe my thought versus your thought. That's it. That's it. And everything else, if it's future, it's like, well, here's the reality. How do you know? I know, you don't know. It's always the same situation. But the reality is you don't know anyway. So what's the difference? Nobody here on this live stream or in this panel right now knows what's going to happen at 4:52 p.m. today. Nobody. So if I have a conversation and say, you know what, later today, around 4:30, you're going to find yourself at the grocery store and you're going to meet this gentleman. He's going to have short black hair and he's going to have red glasses and you're going to spark up a conversation. You're going to be really ready to go because you're late and you're going to have your kids with you. I'm telling you to slow down and have a conversation with that person because that person is going to be instrumental with opening up a door for your business. Slow the fuck down. Slow down. Does that thought or switching that conversation actually hurt you? No. The interesting thing is when that person gets into that experience and it starts to unfold, they're like, oh. And that's how belief actually occurs. Mm. Until then, no one actually believes. It's an illusion. No one has faith. It's an illusion. Until you've gone through the experience, your belief then says, this is true. And off of that true experience, you then create other stories that then become your belief systems. But until then, everything else is simply nothingness. It is hope. It is wishful at best. So to me, I'm just talking up a storm. Y'all get me talking about this and I just keep on going.
I'm just taking it in.
I'm just glad I'm not crying.
And so I love it. And because what I've had to learn how to do is that I'm actually not, it's not about prophecy. It's not about the future. It's not about what's happening now. It's not about your grandmother's coming through. Really what it's about is hope that something else is happening beyond this moment. There is something happening beyond this moment. That what we're doing now on this live stream is healing somebody. It's giving someone insight. It's giving someone clarity. It's giving someone the understanding to organize their life and their mind. And the hope is that by organizing their mind, they can organize their life. By organizing their life, they have a better relationship. They don't fight as much with their spouse. They aren't as angry with their kids, that that cluttered closet doesn't trigger them, back to when they were 8 years old and, their dad used to beat them and they ran into this nasty closet. And so when they go into the closet, seeing something really like out of order, they're not looking at a shirt out of order. They're actually going back to their 8-year-old self they used to hide from their mom or their dad. That's what it means to me. So to me, it's interesting. I almost had to get out of the space of trying to defend, because I found that in defending, I became a disservice.
I think Mary Bell that was in the comments. Hi, Mary Bell. She was talking about something about this a few minutes ago in the comments. Of course, it's scrolled now, but she was talking about not giving energy to the skeptics, and that's important for her. And so that's something that it's really interesting. And I'd love to sort of finish off our conversation today with this, because as we're talking about who am I and who do I believe I am and what do I believe that I do, is there any point, do you think there's any value in knowing what other people believe you are?
Yes, because there's a time with Jesus, the cool guy Jesus, that it's recorded that Jesus went to a city and he could do not many miracles there because of their unbelief. So there is a tie to the experience that people get and the union of thought with other people. Do I think that that's always the case? No. I think for most people, the agreement becomes necessary for the miraculous to occur. I look at it like any other relationship. If you're in a relationship with a spouse, and if you're going one direction and your spouse is going another direction, and you don't come to a level of synergy, it's going to always produce a problem, because it's your creation in conflict with the other person's creation. So if we're talking about, I'm trying to get you healed and you're trying to stay sick, you believe your doctor's word that you need the medicine over my word, which is you don't need the medicine. Is that who's right or who's wrong? We're both right. But the difference is your patterns are going to create the experience that you want. And I'm not going to always be around you, but that medicine bottle is. Mm-hmm. So that's a challenge. So I would say, yes. Now, in my space, what I say is I actually welcome skeptics. I love skeptics. Mm-hmm. I differentiate someone being a skeptic from someone being a cynic. Mm. The cynic is refusing to have an experience. The skeptic says, I have not had an experience. That's different for me. So I can appreciate the skeptic, because when skeptics have a spiritual experience, they become diehard and committed to personal growth, hands down. And so to me, I actually enjoy the skeptic. People don't always approach skepticism in the healthiest way, and that's another conversation about just people skills. But there are some people that are more cynical. I think there's very few people that are actually cynical. Mm-hmm. For someone to be cynical, they're typically dealing with a lot of hardcore traumas that there is very deep seated with them. And to unearth that level of cynicism, they would be a whole new creation, a whole new creature. And cynicism is now a consciousness that they embody versus a character that they're playing. And so to me, a skeptic is just, you're playing this character. You've not had that experience, so you don't know. And so part of your conversation is that you want to know. Or ask any skeptic and they will actually confirm this. If you could prove it, I would believe it. Every single time. Versus a cynic is going to say, I don't care if you can prove it, you're still wrong. Totally different.
I think sometimes it's been interesting to see there people that I've come into contact with who come across as a skeptic, and they say to you, they say the words, those things, if you can prove it, then, and then when you prove it, they're like, well, you're still wrong. like you think it's a skeptic, but underneath there's a little bit of cynicism going on there. And so I think that there's an aspect, at least I feel like, that a person has to be sort of ready to receive the knowing or the information and that sort of thing, because I think that sometimes they masquerade as being open-minded and they're willing to learn and that sort of thing, and then underneath it's like, oh well, never mind. Like, I didn't think I was going to actually be wrong. But I liked what you were saying about the I think a lot of people get caught up in the right versus wrong sort of mentality about things instead of just sort of opening your mind a little bit to the possibility that there's more than just right or wrong, that there's other things sort of at play there.
And I would say this way, I feel like I'll say this way, I think most of us, self-included, focus too much on the effect of why people are skeptics, or the effect of skepticism, not the cause of skepticism. So this is where if we go back to ranting, here's my rant for this podcast. I blame leadership. I blame prophets. I blame psychics. I blame mediums. I blame a lot of people in spirituality, i.e. teachers, because no one is a skeptic by birth. No one is a skeptic without a cause. So if someone is a skeptic, they have had an experience. Ask any skeptic why they believe what they believe, and they will always give you a story around it. So what happens with me is I'm trying to give them a different story that will override the story that's already running in their head. So to me, I look at it as more of a responsibility, not an issue where I'm blaming the skeptic for the skeptic's level of belief. So even with me, like I'll say, if I talk about anything, witchcraft, Christianity, or whatever, my thought is actually not as much on the parishioner as it is the person holding the mic. Because I feel like we're the ones responsible for that. And I think if you put it in that sense, it's a different conversation. Because then I say, who gave you that skeptic energy, that skeptic mindset? And usually it goes down to someone reached out at a very vulnerable time in their life. They needed to hear from spirit. They needed to have an experience that pushed them to a different, journey in their life. And they met some knucklehead that read a book or that was talking about 5D and ascension. And they didn't understand the gravity of the situation. And the skeptic had a bad experience. And to me, that's not their fault at all. That's our fault because we're bad leaders and we don't put enough emphasis on, if you are a psychic, you should get some damn training. If you are, a coach, you should get some training. If you are a teacher, you should have another teacher to help, you learn to be a better teacher. If you're a leader, you need to be led at some level. And the absence of that creates skeptic, and it creates a lot of wounded people.
I want to leave the show today, Calvin, asking you a fiery question to tie in with what you're talking about. You ready? You ready for it? Do you feel like a majority of religious or spiritual leaders are skeptics themselves?
Yes. And here's what I say to that. I feel in order for you to be powerful, you must be a doubter. You must be skeptic. And here's what skepticism does. Skepticism requires you to go deeper every single time. Every time I'm doing a reading, I'm working with someone, I'm doing coaching, I'm doing any level of spiritual work, I always start with skepticism every single time. Every single time. And when I'm teaching someone how to build their gifts, I am always looking to break it down to the base level. Someone says, I had a dream last night that the angels were, visiting me. Great. What did you eat last night? Who have you been talking about? What community groups are you in on Facebook? You're in a bunch of angel groups. You're probably going to dream about freaking angels. Does that mean that actually happened? It probably means that you were programmed by some experience. So I believe when you're skeptical and when you actually doubt, you actually get to the foundation where nothing else exists other than that supernatural experience. And I think the reason that we have a lot of people that aren't as good as what they do in their craft and are causing a lot of pain is because they're not skeptical enough. You should, whatever you are, let's say you're psychic, prophet, medium, whatever, clairvoyant, channeler, whatever. You should have a very, very strong, healthy understanding of what I'm thinking is stupid. I'm making this shit up. I probably know this because I saw it somewhere maybe, or this person looks like this particular profile. And there's a lot of that goes on. People don't talk about it. I do, is actually in one of my courses, but it's absolutely true. It's profiling. You can look at, I give the example of the prophet that's in, the church, and he sees a young woman in her 30s with 4 kids. This prophecy is super easy. I can give it to you right now. This is what everyone will say. Thus saith the Lord of hosts. God is telling you that the pain and struggle that you went through in previous relationships where you felt that you were not, looked out for and loved, God saw every minute of that, and you are coming into your now season, and God is going to turn your mourning into sadness, and God is going to raise up your children to be powerful, and that you are doing a wonderful job, and every tear God has seen. That ain't even prophecy.
Mm-hmm.
It's profiling, because I assume that the young Black woman with 3 kids is probably on welfare. She's probably poor. She doesn't have a boyfriend, or she's probably got 3 or 4 there, and all of her kids have different baby daddies. That's a true assumption that most people won't talk about. Or if you're psychic, that's really easy to do. Oh, you know what? I'm just, I'm just feeling into it. You must be really psychic, because I'm just like having some things. I know how this space works in and out. That other person is not psychic. You're just not good at what you do. That's just what it is. And rather than people leaning into that space of skepticism to say, how could this actually be wrong? How could I be wrong? How does this not apply? Maybe it is a mental illness, and maybe it's not a spiritual gift. Maybe I'm making it up. Maybe I'm thinking the way I'm thinking about this person because they fit the profile. I go through every bit of that within seconds. And when I'm training people, I make them go through that. Because if I can get you to get through all of that and then end up saying, you know what? No, we're good. This is God. This is absolutely spirit.
I'm so glad that you talked about a lot of this, because there's so many spiritual leaders out there who are sharing that everyone is psychic and everyone should be tapping into their spiritual gifts, and not only that, but then encouraging them to use them with other people without proper training, without it just, you brought up a lot of things that I think would make another good hot topic for another day.
We should totally do it. It's just irresponsible. And I don't mind saying that. It's irresponsible. You would not trust your doctor if he operated like that. You would not trust your therapist if they operated like that. You should not be trusting a psychic, a prophet, a medium, or a channeler that cannot verify the work that they do, period. I don't care if it is a spiritual gift. Actually, all the more reason.
I love it. I love it. So many good things today. And I want to give a couple of quick shout outs for everybody that was joining us today. I saw Mary Bell, of course. Mary Bell, she's our viewer of the day. She's got so many good things to say in there.
Hey,
we have Christy. Hi, Christy. Paul was here. I know one of our other panelists, Siri, was on with us for a little while. We've had lots of people come on. I believe your cousin is on here as well. I don't want to say her name because I'm gonna butcher it.
Oh, Dacia.
Yes.
Yeah.
See, I should have trusted myself. Dacia, welcome. Hi. So she was on with us today. We had a ton of people watching. Thank you guys so much. Becky was here. Tammy Witcher was here. Who's that in the Witcher family?
My sister. Hey.
My sister is here too. Hi, Tammy. And we had Aaron watching, and Winsong, and lots of fantastic people watching today. Thank you guys so much. And also to everybody that's watching on all of our cross-posted broadcasts, that we don't always see your comments during the show, but we do see them after. So thank you guys so much for watching today. Thank you, Calvin, for sharing all of the good stuff with us today. And we hope that you'll come back for next season and let us dig into some more of what's going on up here.
I would love that. Absolutely. It's been fun. And you ladies have been just so fun and great and powerful. I have loved every minute of it. And thank you everyone watching too. We so appreciate it.
Awesome. All right. So I think, let me see, next week on the show is actually our last solo guest of this season. You guys believe that? Where the hell did the time go? I have no idea.
I don't believe
no
it.
idea. I was looking at the schedule for the end of the season and looking into next season already and going, oh my gosh, I don't even know what happened here. So next week we have Bruiser Brosey, who's going to be sharing about his epic adventure and getting to ask you guys if you want to go on an epic adventure as well. And so we're excited to have Bruiser on next week. Heather will be back next week. She's with us every week until the end of the season.
I'm here till the end. I'll be here till the end.
And we also have our fun Mama Bear extraordinaire, Siri Ridenauer, will be joining us as panelists next week as well. And then the following week, we have all of a bunch of our season 1 guests returning for a fun Flashback Friday / Where Are They Now episode, which is going to be a lot of fun. And Tara will be back with Heather, of course, as well as Lori Ann Davis. And then on May 31st, Friday, May 31st is our season finale of season 2. Then we're going to take a little break and we'll be back in August. So really excited that you guys have all joined us for this season, last season, and excited as we are about next season too. So join us next week, same time, same place. Right before we go, Heather, biggest takeaway for you today?
That I want him back.
Yeah. Okay. He's coming back. We've decided. All right.
We're keeping Charlie.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Charlie.
Totally.
Charlie can stay.
Tara, what about you? What about you? Big takeaway.
I love all of it. I love everything. My biggest takeaway is, the mindset, your belief, replacing that belief. And yeah, that's great. I have so many things that I want to say, like nothing's even coming out, right? I'm like, I could just talk for an hour now about what we just talked about.
Go ahead.
That's why we all have our own separate shows too. So then we could go down the rabbit hole later.
Didn't you know this is like a semi-season premiere, like 2-hour episode or something?
Yeah.
It's better than Game of Thrones, Heather.
Whatever. Listen, you almost didn't show up because of the fact that you heard that I didn't watch an episode, but whatever, we're not going to get
That's what happens in Canada.
Is this turning into confession? Do we need to have confession?
Have TV in Canada.
This is wrapping it all up. We're all ranting at the end, right?
See?
Oh my gosh. All right, guys. We'll see you next week. Same time, same place, 12 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Eastern for another episode of The Breakthrough. Have a great weekend, everybody.